All right, we have a new viewer slash subscriber who has written in via email with a question. Okay, so here's what he has to say. I recently watched one of your videos and I want some personal advice or tips. Here's my situation. I'm 14, currently in ninth grade. I have 7 classes: PE, algebra, drafting, English, history, biology, sign language. I currently have all D's and way below in basically all my classes. My mother works for the school district, so I have to get on a bus, wait through all the other kids' stops to get to where my mom works. And I end up getting home around 5 p.m. And since my parents are divorced, I have to do a lot of housework, which usually takes up about 2 hours in total. So then the remaining time, I can only do my night routine before going to sleep. First off, I mean, you seem like a hard worker, at least with the housework. If you're really doing 2 hours a night, that's commendable. Way to help out your parents. I don't know how much housework requires 2 hours a night, but still, that's very commendable if it's true. I also have to wake up around 4 a.m. so my mom can take me to her job and I get on a bus. We do elementary kids route first, which takes you around 1.5 hours, then high school route, which takes 2 hours, and I end up not having extra time outside of school. So, first off, I'm empathetic to your situation. You clearly have to make differences because of, you have to accommodate a different lifestyle than other kids because of your parents' situation. By the way, I don't think this is not something that you can't work around. But I'll keep reading your question before I start answering it. Since the beginning of this school year, I have no motivation at all to push forward or do any schoolwork. I have over 50 assignments that I have not turned in this entire school year. I believe I can trust you, so here's a screenshot of some of my grades. You forgot to include that screenshot, but that's okay. As you can see, they're really terrible, and I have like 5 assignments pending. Basically, I'm asking if you can help me out. My mother is always worrying about her job and my little sister, and I'm very antisocial person. So I don't know if I can talk to people to make straight A's. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm pressuring you. I just really need to get my life together because at this point I kind of hate my life and the way things are going. Anything you can suggest or help with, good, I would really appreciate it. And just in case you don't check this email, I'll send you another one. Okay, so that's the email. First off, as a disclaimer, I'm not a miracle worker. I'm not a guru who has all the answers to all the questions. Sometimes people will send hate comments because like everyone has something to complain about and they want to complain that I'm trying to give answers to questions. So I will try my best to help as best as I can. But you can't please everyone. Someone always has to complain about something. So here's what I have to say. First off, I commend you for your situation, and I definitely think that you can still work around it and succeed. How do I know this? Because I've seen others do it. I've seen myself do it. There's been a lot of excuses in my life, and that idea that what if this is just an excuse? And what if I put in effort, I could still figure out something around it. And that's an idea that's been festering, and even to this day, I'm noticing how I'm growing because of that idea. For example, fitness has been a huge thing this year for me and last year, and as well as cooking. And I haven't been doing them at all for years and years, just thinking like it's too hard, and so forth. And although my fitness routine has been getting really good, when COVID hit and quarantine hit, it was like another excuse. Like, well, I just got to give it up now. Home workouts don't really work. And then, I had all these other things. Like, I had other people I'm living with. And, I was like, oh, well, they'll get in the way. They'll think I'm a bother to take up the living room to do this. And I had that idea. What if these are excuses that I could work around? So long story short, I was very scared, but I asked them, hey, if I work out in the living room during this time, will it be an issue? They actually said, no, it wouldn't. I was surprised, shocked. And then bada bing, bada boom. I was doing pretty good workouts with limited weight. That was another excuse. I was like, maybe I don't have enough weight. I can't really make gains. I still made some good gains. I actually hit some PRs for my 1 rep max squat and deadlift after I went to the gym again and tested, despite working out at home for most of the year. So that's one thing. And then same thing with actually working out in the gym. Like I was like, I can't work out at the gym. There's no way I could be socially distant from these people. I found a way of working. Some people were like, you can't work out here. I'm here. And I found a spot in the corner tucked away. These were things I thought were impossible or unlikely. I figured out ways of doing that. I worked with, I reached out to people, my head coach, and he told me, you just got to be assertive. Like, I know you're scared, but 99% of the time, they will not be offended or pissed off as you envision. They'll get it done. So how does this relate to school? I mean, well, you have what you think are roadblocks, or as Ramit Sethi of I Will Teach You to Be Rich says, invisible scripts, beliefs, invisible ideas that you think are how the world works or how you're constrained or how the world functions, that you think are true, so invisible that you don't even question or are aware of them, that may not actually be true. So while you are on the bus all this time, say 2 hours to work in the mornings and 2 hours after, I guarantee you can do something about that. So think about this. I know plenty of people who do their homework, their tests on the bus. I've seen it. I've done it myself. Now, is it always as easy? Does it get a little distracting with the bus bumping around, other kids maybe distracting you? Yes, but it's better than nothing. And I'm guessing with 2 hours, maybe 4 hours, you could probably knock out all your homework in that time. Especially if you're taking kind of entry-level classes and you're at a D now. You have nowhere to go but up. You have nothing to lose. So like even like small things, like let's say you don't even finish all your homework on a daily basis. You just finish 10% of it. You just do 10% more on a daily basis. Forget the 4 hours on the bus. What if you just spent 30 minutes on the bus, and then another 3 hours you can do what you have been before, sleeping or whatever. 30 minutes. You could probably knock out more than you did before, which was nothing. And that, may bump you up to a C. Because like initially, a lot of the times when it's kind of like fitness. Like there's newbie gains and then diminishing returns. So going from a C to a D to a C is much, much easier than a B to an A. It's like very low hanging fruit. If you do it, you turn in the homework assignment. Half the answers could be wrong. You turn it in, you get participation points. You spend, 10 minutes reviewing, what you learned in school on the bus, and all of a sudden you remember it a little bit better for test day, and you get a few more questions right, boom, your grades go up. So think about that. You have a lot of potential here. That's the magnificence of starting from a D. It's like all you can do is go up. I mean, think about the person who I'm not going to use another gym analogy, but think about, I could, and it would work beautifully, but let's just use a different analogy because you might be sick of the gym analogies. You could be the person who has very, very poor language skills in Spanish or Chinese. And if you don't do anything about it, versus the person who spends maybe 5-10 minutes a day just kind of practicing language, that's going to build over time. It just is. You have nowhere to go but up. If you're doing nothing, of course you're not going to do as well. So from there, once you get into that habit of 5-10 minutes a day studying on the bus, you can build from there. Make it 20, make it 30. And I know you're antisocial. I have this other video I'm not sure if I'm going to publish because it's kind of personal, but long story short, I had a lot of I didn't have a lot of friends in school, and I ate alone at lunch fairly often, and it was a tough time for me. So if I could become more social and make friends as my life progressed. I think with you being antisocial, I think you can try. Maybe antisocial, and I don't know your situation or who you are, but maybe that just means you're shy. You're scared of rejection. Not that you're antisocial, or maybe you are antisocial. You don't like other people or talking to them. But usually, you know, you probably talk a bit more than you think. You probably have more time than you think you have. Think about this. At the peak of my performance in school was maybe junior year of high school. I went to school, and then after school, spent about 2 hours track and field. Then the drive home. 1 hour piano practice. Let's give you an hour for dinner. That still leaves like 3-4 hours of study time before I went to bed. So, you might lose, let's say, 2 hours and then another hour and a half every day because you're on transportation. And then another 2 hours because you're doing housework. But here's the difference. Most of that time is empty time. I mean, it's not like track and field where you're actually like practicing a sport. Most of that time is time where, you could be doing something else. You're probably doing something during that time. Maybe it's sleeping, maybe it's playing on your phone, maybe it's looking out the window, but it's something where you could easily replace that, multitask, or replace it with take out your notebook, review the notes. I like to take notes in class. So, when I write down what they say, it burns it into my memory, and then I can reference it later when I study. So that's another thing. And first off, I applaud you for even trying to improve and seeking out to improve, because there are people who don't care about that. They're just like, I don't really care about improving. But you have taken the first step, which shows your promise. You're looking to improve. And then the final thing is, I would say, well, two things. First off, I'm definitely not the only person on the internet giving advice on this. I mean, look at some of these YouTubers with millions of subscribers. Thomas Frank, Ali Abdul, and then hundreds of other YouTube channels with tips. So there's all sorts of stuff on the internet that can help you. Stuff that I didn't have when I was growing up. So don't just take my advice. There's all sorts of people that you can reference and glean what works for you, what doesn't. Test it out. Be a scientist. Experiment with which tips work. And you may just start to see some tremendous progress as your momentum builds. And then the final thing is there's no way you're spending 2 hours a day on housework. And then you have weekends. You have the whole day from beginning to end where you can study, do homework, and catch up. Some Asian students are not spending the weekends just playing around. That's a lot of time, like the whole day from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, to catch up as well, to study, to prepare. And sure, you may not be able to keep up with homework assignments because they're past their due date on weekends, but tests, which make up usually more of the points, those are things that you can probably study for and prepare for weeks out in advance on the weekends. Even like 15 minutes here and there can really start to add up over time. And even with housework, first off, how much housework do you have to do for 2 hours a day? I don't think, like, unless you're mowing the lawn every day, repairing roofs, is it really 2 hours? Really ask yourself that. Be honest. Maybe it's really just half an hour some days, and then one in 5 days it is 2 hours, but it's not as big as you think. And if it is, even if it is, I bet you there's something. I would definitely, and this is through my mentality which takes training and practice, of my no excuses mentality, but I would definitely do something where, let's say you're sweeping the floor for an hour. I pull out my notebook, and then glance at it, and then put it down, sweep the floor and try and remember, recall, read back, recite back what was on there. There's, a lot of studying is really that kind of recall and memorization. So you can really multitask by doing that. You can be, you know, doing your housework, and then every 5-10 minutes check and reference what you did. Now, is it a completely ideal situation, especially when it's a complex thing like algebra? Probably not, but I guarantee you there's stuff that you can probably work on that um, you can kind of do, especially with the more basic coursework. Sign language, I mean, you can do all of that from you know while standing. Maybe you can have someone to practice with, your sister or something. And then there's some classes, PE. I mean, that's a completely different realm. PE, most of the work, most of the stuff is done in the class itself. So that's really not about lack of time. Sometimes it's just lack of effort. Um, I was not really athletic back in school, and I did pretty well in PE because the teachers usually understand that it's not about getting, it's that's not usually about uh, how athletic you are, but the effort you put in. Now, sure, they do have tests sometimes, and then you have to go home and study. But same type of principles. PE, simple classes like that, you definitely have a huge shot of shooting up in the ranks for. So hopefully this helped, and if it didn't, there's plenty of other YouTubers out there. Sometimes I'm kind of shocked that they come to me because there's so much information and answers online already that I figured everything's already being answered. But you wanted this answer, you got it. Hopefully it helped.